All right, so here's part two for talking to ghosts. And in the part one, I had gone over the event with my great grandfather and the funeral where, it felt like that he was trying to attach himself to me or talk to me. And then I felt sort of like this kind of sadness come over me, and then it was gone and I felt like relief. And then I figured, oh, that's the end of it. And that night, I had gone back to my house, which is, I don't know, 20-minute drive away from the church or whatever. And I was sort of laying in my bed, probably about 11 o'clock at night. I wasn't thinking anymore about my grandfather or great grandfather, sorry. And also another point, I think this great grandfather was actually he was the father of my grandfather, not my grandmother. But I remember my grandmother kept track of her lineage a lot. Anyway, but as I laid in bed in my room, we had sort of these street lights that were sort of these halogen bulbs that were sort of would come in the room, and they would sort of shine and very dimly light up my room. I had curtains, but they were sort of translucent, so like not totally blocking the light. And I remembered lying on my left side, and I'm staring at the wall with my back to the window, and all of a sudden, or gradually, actually, not all of a sudden, there was a point where I became, it felt like I was hallucinating. As I looked at the wall, I saw heat as if motion, sort of this crazy swirling of heat, or like as if you're looking down a long road and it's hot and you can see the heat coming off the road. But that wasn't the case. It wasn't particularly hot here. This was in a pretty cool part of the year in Victoria, British Columbia. And it became more and more intense, and I sort of started to close my eyes and I became fearful. And then eventually it became so apparent that I closed my eyes and I realized, I was like, oh, I'm scared and I'm trying to hide. And then this presence came right back into my space, and I felt this sort of like massive violation of my space, and yet I felt like totally with no ability to get rid of it. And is this ghost or whatever was pretty scared, and he didn't know where to go. He was pretty much, I could tell what he was thinking. He was very scared of death, and he was very, very scared that he didn't have a confession or whatever. Like, I guess he wasn't very religious, and he feared life after death, but he never really dealt with that. So these are sort of like very intense emotions that for me also, I sort of like had similar fears myself. So it was like my heart was, you know, it was very real. And this went on for a very long time, probably 45 minutes. And it would go in phases where, like, it wouldn't end. It would just sort of drop off and then come back and get more and more intense. After about like an hour, I was sort of just trying to console and sort of like make the ghost feel better, and then just say, okay, good, now get out of here. I was trying to go to bed and wake up and forget about this. And because of he was so fearful, and he knew, like, I guess if this was like his last stop, that if he was to let go of this situation, he would have to go face the ultimate reality. Okay. So he tried to assume and take over my body and sort of kick me out of it. And sort of this like weird feeling I could get from him. This I could tell he was like, he knows that that's wrong to do, right? Where but it was this craven sort of extreme terror that because he was just not going to face up to whatever it was, like the sins that he had done. These are pretty minor, like, sins or whatever. I'm guessing, I don't really know exactly, what he was worried about, but he was worried about facing up to his sins, and he was trained or raised in like this sort of Christian way. So he figured, oh, I'm going to get to the gates and I'm going to have to, they're going to they won't check me in because I, violated these sins, or, I committed these sins. So he decided, okay, I'm just going to try and snatch this body. And now this is one thing I observed at the time that I learned from this, is that when two similar, okay, I can look back now because I've studied sounds. When two waves of the similar frequency approach each other and touch each other, they actually cancel each other out. So there's something about the frequency of two spirits. The first one that takes over a body gets it and locks it up. It sort of clicks a switch in the biological mechanism of the organism, and it creates a bond, some kind of bond, where it sort of attaches, and so that basically you cannot easily have two spirits attaching to the same body. There's an electronic sort of phenomena where when two ghosts try to take over one body, or they're fighting for it or something like that, it paralyzes, and the body's mechanisms, the electronical, the motor controls for the body actually go dead. And I remember this. So basically that's what happened for like a long time. It feels like a really long time. It probably wasn't that long, but it really just goes on and on forever. And you're just sort of like, and I remember seeing this, there's this video by Metallica where, I think it's One by Metallica. You got to watch it. It's like super creepy. It's a guy where his consciousness or his soul is sort of just stuck and frozen. And that's sort of like the type of, it's like a limbo. And it's like this disconnection from the body. And, I really didn't, I tried to yell and scream, and I had no sound. And I couldn't even get up. I wanted to get up and go over to the room of my stepfather and just like, maybe sleep in his room or something. I don't know, even though I would never do that. That would be extremely weird. But I was just, feeling pretty horrible. And then eventually after, I don't know how long it was. I'm going to say like 1 a.m. ish. I remember I got my motor controls back, and I turned back to the wall where this had started, and I could see the flames were. It was like flames all over this wall. Okay, almost like if you look at a campfire and you look at the shadow that's cast down, and you can see all the motion, the heat of the shadow. You can see the distortions, these like swirling sort of chaotic, and that was just all over this wall. And then I slowly got, I had managed to turn over my head, and I was just sort of like, and then I fell asleep. But so and that made me very interested to further, as I got older, to explore that phenomena, you know, more deeply, right? So let me know if you can relate to something like that. I know it sounds pretty weird, but I have a feeling that more people experience something like that, particularly as a child. I have a feeling that people may have those types of experiences more than they may think. So, all right.